Howdy, gang. Big Ed back here again. All right. So I want to do a quick follow-up to my long mastering thing because one of the main things I wanted to stress is if you're going to do this yourself, it's very, very important that you have to look at the levels of your track going into your mastering session when you take your mixes to try to make them appropriate and relative for streaming, YouTube, etc., maybe even Spotify. As you saw from the last video, Spotify and iTunes can take much hotter signal, much hotter output of your master than YouTube and some others do. That's what those meters, those great meters are for, like the loudness meters. I showed you a couple of them, right? Okay, so today we're just going to look at a real simple singer-songwriter master. Not going to take too long because there's not a lot going on because, first of all, the dude is brilliant. He's my friend Mike Crowder. I've mastered a couple records for him. Amazing singer-songwriter, like really, really good. So it's easy because he writes great, plays great, makes great recordings by himself at home. You know, he brings friends in, but it's all done by him. It's pretty impressive. So it's great. I love working on it. This is a great example of what I would do for a singer-songwriter. Okay, so let's switch over to the other camera. This song is called Driving Into Town. And let's look at the chain here. So the first thing I've done, as you'll see, is put satin, which is a tape saturation emulation. I think it's one of the best. It's my favorite, but I use a couple. On this, satin was the right one. I think I went through 2 or 3 choices. Got the vintage master is the choice I used. That's first in the chain. Next in the chain is my clariphonic. You know I like the clariphonic to open up the top and just give it some air. And the wall, we use the wall on this one very gently, minus 2.5 dB. Not killing it, and then the output's minus 0.4. And then the Pro L2, giving it a little gain. But the thing that's important is, so a lot of times I'll get files and I try to encourage people to not give me super hot files. I try to encourage them to not give me compressed and especially not limited files, but you'll still get files that will be pretty hot because you're going to process it and you're going to be putting it through the routine and you're going to be adding gain and compression and level. So a lot of times I'll have to drop in the clip gain, and this is the clip gain. So you'll see here, I've dropped it. Let's see, you'll have to tilt the camera, right? Let's tilt the camera. Right here is where the clip gain shows. I had to drop this one minus 9.2 dB, which is not abnormal at all. So that's the master chain I just showed you, ending with the Pro L2. So there was only 4 things on the master chain: the satin and the clariphonic, the wall, and the Pro L2. So I did use 2 limiters on this. We spoke about that yesterday. But the actual chain on the track itself, so that's the master chain. So we started with some Oxford EQ. I think you can see this here, right? Not a lot going on. Mike's very, very good. You can see here. Just a little bump at around 100, a little dip at, let's see, 162. Another little dip at 497, giving him a little presence at 3286, and then a lift at 6325. That's it. Very, very little needed to be done. Did a little linear phase EQing at 689. There was some little phase thing going on right here, right? Let me bring this closer to the camera. That's it. There was just some little phase thing going on right through here in the middle. I had to address that. I used a little soothe because Mike used a microphone that gave a particular presence to his vocals that were good, but gave it a sibilance at exactly precisely 3.9 kilohertz. So I found that, dealt with it with soothe, and then had a little multi-band compression going on, a little expansion here, and just a little dips here in the lows and the low mids just to tighten it up a little bit. But as you can see, again, nothing too crazy, right? Then I added, so we were talking about expensive plugins. This is one of the most expensive I own. It's the Crane Song Phoenix tape emulation, but it's one of the best. It's probably the best. And I'm just adding a hair of this because it's a different type of tape saturation than the Satin provides. This is a little cleaner and a more open, just to add a hair, a little grit. And then I use the BX, the Brainworks BX3, the BX Digital V3, I'm sorry. And I'm not doing too much. You can see a little dip here in the stereo side, and a little boost and a little dip in the mono side, just to clean it up a little bit. Just doing a little mid-side there. And then that's it. Then you go back to that master channel of Satin, Clariphonic, the Wall, and Pro L2. And in this case, I used two limiters because it was a sound I was going for. Mike's recordings are super clean, really well done, beautiful, but we wanted to make them a little aggressive, but a little aggressive and fatter, a little more competitive. It's really hard out there for singer-songwriters, but I also didn't want to smash it, so we found a combination that worked to give him the level he was happy with and give us both the sound we were happy with. Love working with Mike. I can go back and forth with him. Easy, easy. And it's beautiful to listen to. So let's listen to a little of this. This is one of my favorite songs because he thinks I helped him. I didn't help him. I think I did play on this. I think I played some lap steel. So anyway.
Life like this, way out here somewhere. Get away from all the pavement, she said. Greener grass, cleaner air. She found this place when I retired, and I just signed where I was told. If she was ever gonna change her mind, would have changed it long ago. Can't get a decent meal out here. There just ain't that much around. So you're driving into town.
Now, I don't know about you, and I know it's hard to hear through the speakers and then through the bandwidth of YouTube and whatnot, but I'm really happy. I haven't listened to this in like 2 years. I'm really happy with how this came out. I'm happy for Mike. Proud that I did a good job 2 years later. I don't think I would change anything. that's aces, because you keep learning. I'm learning every day, and I was taught by one of the best, but your job's not to mess people's music up. It's just to make it better. You got to be careful. And I can feel the kick. I can feel the pulse of the bass. I can feel the relationship between the kick and the bass, even though it's like a singer-songwriter-y acoustic song. I'm feeling the width, and I didn't even really have to do too much with that there. I'm not compressing the living crap out of it. I mean, I'm not compressing it at all. How about that? Just doing some saturation, which is compression in itself, but I'm loving it. It's feeling good. It's hitting me here. I hope you can hear it, but I'm happy for Mike. I'm happy for my clients. That's what you should feel. But the point is, you don't need to do a ton of stuff to get that, right? EQ, like regular phase and linear phase EQ. Some de-essing, some saturation, some mid-side, and that's it. I mean, there's not much going on. I'm doing little things, and granted, the material was fantastic to begin with, okay? So I hope that gives you another little picture of how simple it can be for your music to get it up to level and get it appropriate for streaming services and whatnot. Okay, we were going for CD level on this because that was all he was going to do, and of course it ends up in streaming services later if you wish, but I'm pretty happy about that. So please, if you have any more questions, let me know. If you want to see another one, I'm happy to do so. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.